Good morning, my dear students. Mrs. S.O. Obiajulu, and I'm going to take you in English language as I've written on the board. This morning, we're going to look at summary writing. Summary writing. We've come to realize that summary writing is one aspect that students need to be tutored. Why? Because it carries 30 marks in WAEC and NECO, and it's very important, you know. It's very important that you learn the art of writing good summary and that you're able to answer questions correctly in the summary passage in WAEC and NECO, you know, in order to boost your scores. As a matter of fact, it's very, very easy to score 30 over 30 in summary, if only you keep to the rules of summary writing. Here on the board, I have what is summary. We're going to look at the rules of a good summary. We look at the qualities of a good summary, and we now look at the penalties for summary, because there are penalties, you know. When we mark WAEC, when we mark NECO, there are penalties. There are things that you're not expected to do as a student, because when you do that, you're going to be penalized, and it will definitely affect your scores in summary writing. So now, what is summary writing? So, what is summary? Summary is the act of extracting vital information or points from a given passage, a text, a speech, or a text or a speech, and then you restate them. You restate them in a clear and concise manner. That is the act of summary. Summary writing, you extract points. You're given a passage, you're expected to read the passage, understand this passage, and then know the main points that have been discussed in this passage. Because not everything in the passage is important, you know. It's now left for you as a student to extract the main point. And it is this main point that you're expected to put in a concise manner, in a clear manner, so that the examiner would actually know what you're talking about. Okay, and I also said we're going to look at the qualities of a good, the rules of a good summary first, you know, before we look at the qualities. The rules of a good summary. Do not include illustrations or details. This is very important. Do not include illustrations or details in your summary answer, because if you do, you're going to be penalized. Summary is the act of concising, making something brief. When you begin to illustrate, then you're going out of context. Take note of that. And again, do not lift answers without modification. You need to modify your answers. Don't lift directly from the passage. Don't lift what the original writer has stated. You're to bring out the point, modify it in your own words, and write it out in sentences. Lest I forget, summary writing has to do with your ability to be able to write in good sentences. And we advise our students to do what? To use the simple sentence. We have the simple sentence, we have the compound sentence, and we have the complex sentence. We advise our students to use the simple sentence. Why? Because you're expected to write your point in a simple form. And again, do not lift your answers without modification. Then substitute writer's own words with your own without changing the main ideas. You're expected to change the words of the original writer. Put your own way, but don't write in phrases. That's another thing we tell our students. Don't give your answers in phrases. If you give your answers in phrases, that means the answers are incomplete and you'll be penalized, you know. In as much as you're expected to change the words of the writer, use your own words, but do not change the main ideas. Then present your answers in sentences. This is very important. I said this previously, that summary tests your ability to be able to write in good sentences. And I want to believe that you know what a sentence is, where you're expected to state a point, state a main idea, just one idea, not two. When you have two ideas, it becomes what? A compound sentence. So use the simple sentence. And again, do not write more than the required number of sentences. In a summary writing, you're asked, in one sentence, state the qualities of teaching, state the qualities of a good teacher. In one sentence, you're not expected to write more than one sentence. You give your answer in the number of sentences you've been asked to do so. Then don't lump two answers in a sentence. If you lump two answers in a sentence, one will be taken as irrelevant and you will not be scored. Only one will be scored, and then some penalties. We're coming to the penalties of summary writing. Some penalties will be also applied, so you have to be very careful. Now let's go to the qualities of a good summary. We're talking about a good summary. A good summary should be brief and concise. Brevity is one aspect of summary that you need to adhere to. A good summary needs to be brief and concise. It should be clear, readable, and understandable. If your answers are not clear, if they are not readable, you are making a very costly mistake. So your answer should be clear, it should be readable, and when the examiner is marking, the examiner will understand what you have written in clear and simple language. Then it should be relevant. Relevance is very, very important. If it is not relevant, then it will be considered as unnecessary. It will be considered as, not important. So the answers you're giving should be relevant to what you have read in the passage. Then you should never change or remove ideas of the original writer. A writer has written a passage. Maybe we'll have the passage talking about poverty, and then the writer discuss some things which he thinks are the causes of poverty. Do not bring what the writer did not discuss in the passage. If he never mentioned anything like maybe lack of seriousness on the part of the government, and then you bring it in, you're going to be penalized because it's going to be seen as an irrelevant, extraneous material. So do not include extraneous or irrelevant materials in your answer. If the passage is on religion, make sure you adhere to what the author has written. If you change anything or you bring in your own ideas or remove the ideas of the original writer, you're going to be penalized. And that takes us now to penalties for summary writing. Remember at initial time I said that summary writing is one important aspect that students are usually tested in WAEC, NECO, and NAPTEB. And the mark there is 30 marks. And this 30 marks is very easy for you to score as a student. If you read the passage, if you understand what summary is, if you take note of the main point, you're good to go. But when you go ahead to do things that are not expected to be done, the penalties will be imposed. And what are these penalties? Number one, deduct half mark for any grammatical errors in each answer. What do I mean by that? You're asked to give your answers in sentences. For instance, you're asked to read. There's a passage we're going to do at the end of the day. We're going to do a passage. I'm going to direct you to your textbook where you're going to actually practice the passage. It's a WAEC passage. Deduct half mark. Half mark will be deducted for any grammatical error. You're expected to use is and then you use was. You're expected to write your answers in simple present tense, and you write your answers in past. You're not consistent. Half mark will be deducted. Okay, number two. I've talked about number one, deduct half mark for any grammatical errors in each scoring point. Remember, the question is always stated like this. In one sentence, state the qualities of something, right? And if you make any mistake, half a mark will be deducted. Each mark in summary carries 5 because it's 30 marks. Normally, you're asked to write in 6 sentences. 5 times 6, that will give us 30 marks. If you're asked to write in 5 sentences, 6 times 5, that will give us 30 marks. So when half mark is deducted, that means you have 5.5 marks. That's number one. Number two, deduct 1 mark for the inclusion of irrelevant materials. When you include an irrelevant material in your summary, an answer that is not expected, like I said, use the simple sentence, and you now use the compound sentence. That means you have 2 points. 1 mark will be deducted. So the mark is 5. That's why you see teachers, they will put it there, 5 minus half, 5 minus 1, then you have 4 marks. I hope I am understood. Okay, number 3, we have deduct 2.5 marks for answers not written in sentences. Let me emphasize at this point, my dear students, that in answering summary questions, there are 2 ways. You can use the preamble. What is a preamble? A preamble is an introductory statement that will state your answer. You're expected to use a preamble. And we often advise our students to make use of the preamble because the preamble will help you. When you have this introductory sentence, you now state your answers. It makes your writing very clear. It makes it very brief and very concise. So that takes me back to to penalty for summary number 3. Deduct 2.5 marks for answers not written in sentences. Many of the students will write their answers in phrases, which does not score. If you write your answers in phrases, 2.5 marks will be deducted. If you don't write your answers in full sentences, the qualities of a good teacher is the mastery of her language. And you just say mastery of her language. Is that a sentence? Definitely not. So you only have 2.5 marks. That means you have just 2.5 marks to contend with. And that's when many of you will come to ask the question, how come I have 2.5? You've lost 2.5 marks because you did not write your answers in sentences. Number 4, award 0, where a preamble taken with the answers does not make a sentence. I've explained what a preamble is: an introductory statement that introduces your answers. If you write a preamble and the preamble does not go with the sentences, you have lost your 5 marks or your 6 marks. So make sure you have a good preamble that will actually enable you introduce your answers. Like I said, you're given a passage on what are the benefits of education. Your preamble can be, the benefits of education are, and you begin to state them. The benefits of education are: 1, for acquiring knowledge; 2, for impacting knowledge; 3, for affecting the world positively, and so on and so forth. You have your answers well stated. Then we'll have the next one, award 0, where a student engages in mindless lifting. What is mindless lifting? Where a student picks everything in the passage, and writes it as if he is writing a note. It should be avoided, because when you do mindless, you're lifting everything the author has said. Remember, I said one of the qualities that you should change the words, use your own words, so you'll be able to give out the point the way it should be given. So, but when you engage in mindless lifting verbatim from the passage, lifting unimportant ideas, lifting irrelevant ideas, you're going to be penalized. Then number 5, we have, okay, I've talked about award 0. Number 6, where 2 points are made in one sentence, award marks for 1 and regard the other as irrelevant. You're asked to give us answers in 1 sentence, and you've given 2 sentences. Only 1 will be marked. Don't come out and say, I've given them so many answers. Only 1 will be taken, and the other 1 will be regarded as irrelevant. And you're going to be penalized. Why? Because 1 mark will be deducted from the answer you have given. So please take note of that. The next one is where if a student writes more than the required number of sentences, mark only the required number of sentences. You're asked to write 5 sentences, give your answers in 4 sentences or 6, and then you write 10, 15 thereabout. Only the number of sentences will be marked, and the other ones will be regarded as irrelevant or extraneous ideas. So please keep to the rules of summary writing. If you keep to the rules of summary writing, definitely you will do well in your summary. This is it. We talked about summary writing, and remember I told you that summary has to do with being concise, being clear, and being direct. When you're given a passage to read, read the passage, understand the passage, know what the passage, the main ideas is very important, because not everything in the given passage are important. No, everything there, you have to extract the main point, give your answers, bring out the main point, write your answers neatly. And the use of preamble is very important. Preamble will guide you as a student in stating your answers, correctly, clearly, and without any mistakes. And I want to say that when you adhere to these rules of grammar, take notice that summary has to do with the act of being concise, go straight to the point. You don't need to tell a story in summary, and then don't include illustrations. That's what I meant by you don't need to tell us stories. Pick the main ideas, put them in a clear way, and don't deviate from the number you've been asked to give. You're asked to give your question in 2 sentences, give it in 2 sentences, 3 sentences, 4, thereabout, and then make sure that you have a very good preamble. You pick your preamble from the question you have been asked. I want to believe that the lesson is well understood, and I'm going to ask you to go to your textbook, New Concepts English for SS3, page 117. There is a passage there on the advantages and disadvantages of ICT. Please read the passage. When you read the passage, understand the passage, make an attempt at answering this question. When we meet next, we look at the answers together and we'll continue from there. Have a blessed day.